Good morning, everybody, and welcome. So excited to have you here with us today. We'll get started in just a few moments. We're going to let everybody settle in as they're joining in the webinar. Really excited to have you here so we can talk about College Bound 201 best practices. And as we're getting started, feel free to go into the webinar chat if you want to introduce yourself in terms of where you're at. Got some few people from Joyce, Washington. Welcome, Linwood, Seattle Schools, Central Washington. Great to see you all here. Looks like a lot of you are joining in quite quickly. Really excited to see you all here. Got a few from Yakima, Moses Lake, Tacoma, Brewster, Lacey. You're all coming from all over the place today in Washington State. Welcome. As I mentioned a little bit ago, we're going to get started in just a few moments. Going to let you all settle in, get everybody joined in, and we'll get started shortly. If you haven't done so, if you can brew a cup of coffee, get some water, get settled in, whatever helps you to be relaxed during this webinar. We've got quite a bit we want to share with you all, some information that will be really useful for you, your students, and the families you help. It looks like we have someone who has their hand raised. With that, if you have any questions at this point in time, feel free to use the Q&A feature. We'll get your questions answered that way. But it looks like we've got quite a few people in. And let's see. If you haven't already, go ahead and introduce yourself as you're joining in. But I believe for the sake of time, we can go ahead and get started. What do you think, Bree? Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to volume down that music and get going with our presentation. But with that, thank you all for joining in. Really excited to have you here with us. My name is Raul Sanchez. I am a College Bound Regional Officer for the College Success Foundation, here to help out with anything related with the College Bound program. Today, we're covering College Bound 201 best practices. And with that, like we mentioned, we're really excited to have you here with us. I will be co-presenting with Bree, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to her to introduce herself.
Yeah, thanks, Raul. Good morning. My name is Bree Olison. I'm the College Bound Regional Officer for the Northwest Coastal Region. So I get to support anything north of Seattle. So walk them through Snohomish, San Juan Islands, and then also the Olympic Peninsula. So I live in Port Angeles, beautiful PA. So excited to be here with you all today.
Thank you, Bree. And with that, before we begin, we do have a few things we do want to go over. So there are some housekeeping rules with that. This session is being recorded, and we're going to email all participants and all those who pre-registered a link to the recording. You're also going to have a copy of the slide deck. Hopefully you were also able to look at your emails and see a few things we were able to send beforehand. Like we mentioned, please feel free to use the Q&A feature to ask questions. As much as we're going to be monitoring the chat, it'll be a lot easier for us to be able to respond to any questions you may have by using the Q&A feature. This way, others can keep track of what's being answered. And it's always helpful to be able to share the answers to everybody about questions you may have, because other people are probably thinking the same thing. We have people standing by to help answer those questions, so feel free to drop them in at any time as Bree and I are presenting. We want to make sure we get to every single question. If for some reason we're not able to answer them today, we will make sure we get back to you within the next few days for that. We are excited to say that clock hours are available for this training. We know that training is important for you to be able to learn about things of how to best support your students. You can scan the QR code on the screen to request your clock hours. The survey is also going to be sent out in the post-attendee email. Please ensure you fill out the clock hours record survey to request the clock hours credit form. You want to make sure you fill it out, keep it for your records, and be aware that some of you may need to recertify with OSPI. We are thankful for you to be able to take your time out of your busy schedule to attend this training. We know that it is spring. Some students are really eager to get to summer, probably slowing down on their academics, and it's your job to make sure they're staying fully focused, especially for those high school seniors. As this webinar series is a new undertaking for us, we really want to hear from you about all the ways that this was useful information, what information was missing, what we could improve upon, whether it's our delivery, the information we provide. We really would like every sort of feedback available from you. To thank you for taking that 5 minutes out of your day to provide the survey response, we have 10 virtual gift cards for $10 that you could use at the retailer of your choice. If you've ever heard of Tango, it gives you the opportunity to be able to select a variety of different options. While filling out the survey, you will need to enter your email so you can be notified. Rest assured that the can't talk this morning, it's quite early, but rest assured that the CBRO team and presenters will never see the responses tied to an individual. We review the responses as a whole. We're not identifying anybody specifically, and our program managers will give us a summary. So I hope that the knowledge allows you to be as honest, transparent as possible, and provide a lot of information with that, the good, the bad, everything in between. We put a lot of effort and time into these to help you, and if we're not succeeding, it's really great for us to know. And with that, I'm excited to present to you College Bound 201. With that, there's going to be a brief overview of what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about the understanding of College Bound, briefly touch on those topics. The responsibilities of school. What is your responsibility as a staff member to help your students with College Bound? Middle schools helping students to make sure they're completing the requirements to be auto-enrolled, letting them know about all their opportunities and encouraging them to explore post-secondary opportunities. Promoting the College Bound program, recruiting the College Bound team, figuring out who your champions are, who are the people that can work with you to ensure your students are getting everything necessary related to the College Bound program, and preparing students to be College Bound. With that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to my co-presenter, and she's going to be able to share with you the next part of this presentation.
Wonderful. Thanks, Raul. Okay, so welcome everyone. Good morning. Again, my name is Bree Olison. We are so excited to bring you this new webinar. This webinar is designed to align with our brand new middle school and high school checklists. So these checklists are a fantastic tool for ensuring your school or district stays on track with all the key steps and promotional efforts for the College Bound program. These checklists are also a great resource for potentially new educators who may just be getting familiar with the College Bound program. And if they just want to hit the ground running, right, this would be a great resource. So this presentation follows along with the checklist, right? So each of those 5 sections we'll be covering are the 5 sections on the checklist. We sent them out in the 1-hour reminder, but we have also, we'll drop them, the links in the chat for easy access. So feel free to have the checklist open as we go through the presentation. I think it will be a helpful guide as we walk through each step. So let's dive in. Okay, so the first section is understanding College Bound. So just as a quick reminder, this is the third and final session in our series. So we started with College Bound 101 in February, followed by the College Bound program updates in March. So I'm not going to be covering much of the College Bound basics, right? Because we've already done that. You can go back and watch the webinars and I'll show you where you can find those. But I do just want to take a moment to cover some basics to make sure we're all on the same page. So College Bound is an early commitment of state financial aid. So this grant works together with other state financial aid, right? Usually the Washington College Grant, to help pay for eligible students' education after high school. So it's intended to cover the cost of tuition at public college rates, some fees, and a small book allowance. So students who are in public school and income eligible for free and reduced price lunch in 7th, 8th, or newly income eligible in 9th grade are going to be automatically enrolled into College Bound. Okay, so in this webinar, we'll be focusing on best practices and walking through the new actionable checklists. Since that's our main focus, we won't be diving deep or too much into the basics of the program. Okay, so the first bullet point on the checklist is exploring WASAC's College Bound page, right? So this is a great place to start. WASAC's College Bound webpage. Highly recommend taking some time to explore it and get familiar with the available resources there. There are a ton of resources. One of the first resources that I want to discuss on the next slide are the frequently asked questions. So these documents are amazing resources. There's one FAQ specifically for school staff and college access professionals, and then there's another FAQ specifically for students and families. So I know that our CBRO team and our WASAC College Bound team rely on these FAQs regularly. So we highly recommend reviewing them. They're just a great go-to resource to find all of the information in like a one-stop shop. Okay, so another great resource is our library of previous webinars. So all sessions are recorded and uploaded to YouTube, making it easy for you to access them anytime. So WASAC does host a College Bound Updates webinar every fall, and then our CBRO team, in collaboration with WASAC, organizes spring webinars. So like Raul said, right, this is the first year that we've introduced a 3-part spring series. And we really hope that you've found these additional webinars valuable for you and your team. And we're really excited to hear the feedback on it. I know in the last webinar in March, the program updates, we had a new section where we had a series of scenarios that we discussed. And I know that I learned a lot from those scenarios. So if you didn't get to watch that last webinar, highly recommend it. Okay, so one important point that I want to highlight about the College Bound basics is the language shift from using the word scholarship to commitment, right? You may have seen, especially on the logo, right? We have gotten rid of the word scholarship and now it's just called College Bound. We know that when talking with students, language matters, right? It shapes understanding and it really impacts how students and families engage with the College Bound program. So this shift from scholarship to commitment, I think better reflects the College Bound, what College Bound truly offers. And it's something to keep in mind when you're communicating about the program. Right? Like, have you ever worked with a student who like shuts down or gets frustrated when you ask like, what do you want to do after high school? Right? Or maybe you've met a senior who tells you they're just going straight into the workforce, not because it's their passion, right? Because they may have just given up, right? And they're just like, I just don't care anymore. I can't think about it, right? I don't want to think about the future. Um, this isn't about a lack of direction of the student, right? This is a sign of low hope. The good news, right, is hope is not just a feeling, it's a way of thinking. And there's research now that shows that hope can be taught. So I think connecting the science of hope and College Bound really brings back the why of the program, right? Why did Washington State start this College Bound program? So, what is hope? Hope is the belief that the future can be better than today and that you have the power to make it so. So it's not just wishful thinking, it really is about setting goals, finding pathways, and having the energy to keep going. So let's talk about the three key components of hope. So the first one is goals. This is the destination, the things that you are working towards. So goals can be short term or they can be long term and something that you want to achieve. There's pathways. So pathways, these are the roadmaps in your mind that guide you towards your goal. So there's rarely just one way to get there, right? There's some paths that are straightforward, but most of the paths, right? They take these unexpected turns. We've all been there, right? And then there's the willpower, right? The third component, or that's the energy, right? So this is your motivation, the energy that keeps you moving forward. So let's now imagine hope as a road trip for a student. So Raul, if we can go back to the last slide. So the goal is the student's destination, right? For some, it could be on a road trip, it's a nearby town, right? Maybe that's a short-term goal. Or for others, it's across the country, right? Maybe they're already thinking about that long-term goal. And the pathways are the different routes that a student can take to get there. There's some that are direct, right? And then most of the pathways are going to be a little winding and scenic, and they may have detours or roadblocks, right? And then there's the student's willpower, right? So that's going to be their fuel in the car, right? Without stops to refuel, right? Without that encouragement, support, and small wins, they'll run out of energy and momentum. So as educators and mentors, we have the power to help students see their destination, right? To map out their paths and to refuel when their energy runs low. So when we teach hope, we empower students to believe in their future, right? And in themselves. So just like College Bound, the program really is a pathway to a better future. Okay, now we can go to the next slide. Thanks, Raul. So when we take a look at the hope continuum from the science of hope, we see that the opposite of hope isn't fear or doubt, it's apathy, right? So when a student is in an apathetic state, they don't believe their goal is possible, right? They're not spending any energy. They're not working toward a goal. They're not looking for pathways to get there. No, they're not imagining a future that looks any better than today. So in the book, Hope Rising by Casey Gwynn and Chan Hellman, it explains that an apathetic student does not see the classroom or education as a pathway toward desirable goals, right? But even with the smallest goals, right, when they're nurtured, it can spark hope and eventually turn education into a meaningful pathway for the student. So that's why it's so important that we start talking about post-high school options early and often, right? So we're integrating College Bound into the conversations. So students need to hear again and again, right, that there are pathways for them, right, including College Bound. So with the College Bound program shifting away from calling itself a scholarship, and now instead frames it as a commitment or a program, it really is a structured pathway that can lead to the student's goals. But here's the key, okay? Hope doesn't happen all at once. It happens in small incremental steps, right? Hope isn't something that just develops on their own. Hope is social, right? It grows through relationships and through conversations and connections. So as adults, right, we have this 30,000 foot view. we can see the different paths available to students, but students, right, they're on the ground. They can't see those paths yet, right? And of course, we want to yell and we want to say, hey, no, it's right there, right? But we have to take the time to listen and encourage and guide students toward their own small steps, right? We're not just helping them plan for their future, but we're giving them the hope to believe in it. And that's why that language shift from college bound, from scholarship to commitment is so impactful. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So I know that over this last year, I have been learning about the science of hope. And when I started learning about it, I was like, wow, how has this not been connected yet to college bound? This was something brand new for me. So I'm curious, have you heard of the science of hope before? Right? And if so, do you use it at your school? So I'd love to hear it in the chat. Have you heard the science of hope? If yes, do you use it at your school? So I'm just reading the chats. Amazing. You've done a full staff book study. Haven't heard of it, but feels inspiring. Not yet. You use it. Wonderful. Amazing. Yeah, I think, especially with the science of hope, I think it's something that maybe like you haven't heard like the technical terms or the different components, but it's probably something that you're just naturally doing with students. And maybe you just haven't put the verbiage to it yet. So absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. And know that we are sending out this webinar, and we will include all of the resources are linked. So you'll get some additional information about the science of hope. Okay, let's move on for the sake of time. Okay, so the next section of the checklist is responsibilities of schools. So let's go over some of those components. Okay, so one of the first school-based responsibilities we want to highlight is related to the auto-enrollment process. I know that we went over this in College Bound 101, but I just want to touch on it again. So the Child Nutrition Eligibility and Education Benefit Application, that's a mouthful. For short, I'm going to call it SNEB. I don't know if we call it CNAB. I'm going to call it SNEB because it just rolls off my tongue. So the SNEB application combines the two important forms, right? The free and reduced price lunch application, the FERPL application, and the family income survey. So this streamlined process is now the primary way to determine whether a student qualifies for free and reduced price lunch, right? Of course, along with other benefits at your school. And it's also how we determine income eligibility for automatic enrollment into College Bound in 7th or 8th grade. So here's how it works. If a student is determined to be income eligible in 7th or 8th grade, they'll be automatically enrolled in the College Bound program. And if they weren't income eligible in middle school, but then become eligible in 9th grade, they can still be enrolled, right? As long as the SNEB was submitted both in middle school, so 7th or 8th grade, and in 9th grade. Now, here's something to keep in mind, that this school year, about 70% of Washington students have access to free meals at your school. Like, this is a celebration to have. That is incredible. But what I want to note is that 100% free lunch does not, 100% free lunch access does not mean a student is income eligible for College Bound. Okay, so students must still meet income eligibility through the SNEB to be enrolled. And there's a few other ways they can be automatically enrolled, but know that SNEB is one of the main ways that students will be considered income eligible. So whether your school offers 100% free lunch or not, it's important to understand the impact of the promotion of the SNEB application at your school. So some things to consider is like, how is your school or district promoting the SNEB application, right? Is it through email? Is it mail? Is it at student-led conferences? Is it at welcome back nights? Is it printed, right? So first, understand how your school promotes the SNEEB application. And then when you're looking at that promotion, is College Bound included in the messaging and the promotion of SNEEB, right? I looked on a few schools' websites, right? And College Bound was not included in that messaging. So that's something that I think is highly recommended, is to get College Bound, right, aligned with the SNEEB messaging. And then, do families understand that College Bound is a time-sensitive opportunity, right? It's only available for auto-enrollment in 7th and 8th grade. So especially at the middle school level, promotion matters, right? The more that we can align messaging around the SNEEB and College Bound, right, the more students we can help get on the path, right, for post-secondary success after high school. Okay, so on the next slide, I want to highlight another part of the enrollment process. This is the data and information flow chart that we have shared before. We went over it in College Bound 101, so I'm not going to cover every category today. What I really want to focus on is the new section that we highlighted, the SB 6053, now in effect. So as you may have seen, WASAC sent out an email on April 2nd stating that SB 6053 is now in effect. So this legislation expands data sharing between OSPI, WASAC, and Washington's public colleges and universities. And it's really just designed to help students access more opportunities in financial aid. So while WASAC now receives high school student directory information directly from OSPI, but what I want you to know is that the data is only updated once per year. Okay, so yes, it's amazing that we got this directory information, but it really doesn't change any processes on the middle and high school side for you all, right? So that means your ongoing efforts are essential to keeping student records accurate and up to date. So just a few key reminders and best practices when you're looking at this. Continue using the bulk update tool, right? And continue to update contact info individually, just to ensure that student and parent contact info is current, right? Continue checking the bad address list in the College Bound portal and make any corrections. And if a student or parent contact info is updated in your student information system, so your SIS, it will not link to the College Bound portal automatically, right? So to ensure that students get important notifications, just continue going in and making those updates to the portal directly, okay? And then remember that new directory and data from OSPI will not be uploaded again until the 25-26 school year. So accuracy now really matters, okay? So if you have any questions about SB 6053 or how this may impact your school's processes, I'm going to have you send it over to the WASAC College Bound team, right? So you can contact them, or there's also a secure messages option in the toolbox. And in the slide, in the yellow section, I've also linked their email, so you can find all of the information there as well. Okay, so the next section is another important school responsibility, and that's accessing and utilizing the College Bound portal and toolbox, right? Portal or toolbox. So this tool allows school staff to view and update student information for College Bound students. So after all of the hard work that you have done to promote the SNEEB application, right, this is where you can log in and confirm whether a student was income eligible and automatically enrolled into College Bound. So if you're new to the portal or just need a refresher, we have linked 3 helpful resources here, including another fantastic FAQ that walks you through the portal with screenshots. I personally love screenshots. And I just wanted to note there will also be a new College Bound portal video uploaded this summer, so you can watch it while you're laying on the beach with your cocktail maybe. And then I just wanted to reiterate that what we had mentioned in the last slide. So yes, OSPI student directory data has been uploaded to the portal. It only happens once a year. Okay, so that's why it's so important to continue to log in regularly, check for bad addresses, and enter any new or updated student info directly to the portal. Okay, so let's talk through a few best practices for using the College Bound portal effectively. First of all, bookmark it. If you are not using bookmarks or your bookmarks bar, I highly recommend it. That's how I just like survive and live. So highly recommend to bookmark the College Bound portal. The next is setting a monthly reminder, right? So just put it on your calendar, set it for 30 minutes each month, grab your cup of coffee or tea, and use that time to log into the portal, check for bad addresses, and update any contact info, right? And also, I want you to remember that it's not just one person's responsibility. You can share the wealth, right? Multiple people at your district can have access to the toolbox, right? And can have the responsibility of updating bad addresses or contact info. Another great tip is to use your College Bound student list for targeted outreach throughout the school year, right? So this could be inviting College Bound students directly to financial aid nights, field trips, college or career fairs, right? Any other post-secondary access or planning events. And then lastly, if you are planning to support FAFSA completion for College Bound seniors, you'll need to request access to the FAFSA portal separately. Okay, so similar to how you request access to the College Bound portal, you'll need to send an email to fasfa@wasac.wa.gov with your contact info to request access to the FAFSA portal, right? And I just want to note, there is no longer FAFSA data available in the College Bound portal, right? So now there are two separate tabs. There's the College Bound portal and then the FAFSA portal. Okay. Another important school responsibility is making sure that your school's website is up to date with the latest College Bound information. So there have been a few changes to the program, right, as you may have seen over the last year. So now would just be a great time to review your site and just make sure everything reflects the current language and branding. A few key updates to look for is the word scholarship has been phased out, right? So now we refer to the College Bound program as just College Bound, right? Or the College Bound commitment. If your site has College Bound listed under the scholarship section, I would consider moving it to maybe like your financial aid or grant section to reflect this shift. As well, you may have seen that College Bound has a new logo. So just ensuring that on your site, you're using the new logo. And then we have also moved away from using the term pledge, right? And now we just generally use requirements. So when referring to what students may need, right, you can change the language on your site from pledge to requirements. So to make this easier for all of you, WASAC has created this amazing and helpful website template that you can use to update your school website. I think this would also be a great tool if you're looking at the connection between the SNEED promotion and College Bound. This could also be a helpful tool to just use this language if you are trying to get College Bound messaging into your SNEED promotion. So yeah, we just really recommend to just take a few minutes to review your site and make sure it really reflects these updates, because I know that students and families often look first to your websites, right? And they know that your websites are a trusted source of information. Okay, so as I had mentioned earlier, WASAC sent out an email on April 2nd with updates about SB 6053. So if you didn't receive that email, now would be a great time to sign up for WASAC's College Bound newsletter. This just ensures that you're staying in the loop with timely updates, important program changes, and then helpful resources throughout the year. And when you are signing up, just don't forget to use your work email and not your personal email. Okay, so the last school responsibility that I want to touch on is the college bound section within OSPI's high school and beyond. So I know that each school or district tracks and meets the high school and beyond plan requirements just a little differently, right? So I am not here to prescribe a one size fits all approach. Like that is just not going to happen. But I just want to offer a friendly reminder that College Bound is included as one of the required components. So this means that every student needs to receive information about College Bound as part of their high school and beyond plan. I think this is when you're thinking about all students, right? I think this is especially relevant for our middle school staff and students, as this is when students can be auto-enrolled into the program, right? So however you choose to incorporate it, right? Whether through advisory, career lessons, one-on-one planning, family nights, or another strategy, really what matters most is that students are informed and understand how College Bound can connect to their future goals. Okay, and so that's what we're going to touch on next in the next section, which is promoting College Bound. So let's get into that section. Okay, so when you are starting to think about how to promote the College Bound program at your school, again, there's not a one size fits all option, right? We are all unique snowflakes in this world, right? The goal is to intentionally engage with our College Bound students, families, and communities. And you all know best, okay? But I thought I would bring in a framework on how to promote College Bound. So some educators may already be familiar with the multi-tiered systems of support, for sure. I'll call it MTSS. And some may not. So I'm just going to dive a little into it, and then I'll explain the tiers. So the MTSS framework is a collaborative evidence-based approach to differentiating and personalizing instruction and intervention. So this is across academics, social emotional learning, and behavior for all students. So utilizing the MTSS framework with College Bound can help educators integrate early College Bound awareness into your existing student support structures. Okay, so here's some examples of how you can align College Bound with the MTSS framework. So tier 1 is universal supports. This means all students, so all of your students, right? The goal is to ensure that all students are aware of the College Bound commitment as a viable post-secondary pathway, right? So when we're thinking about all students, this aligns with the high school and beyond plan requirement. This tier, I think, is especially important when thinking about getting students auto-enrolled during 7th and 8th grade. Okay, so some examples could include like school-wide awareness campaigns that integrate college-bound messaging maybe into advisory periods, into your school newsletters, into the SNEEB messaging, right? Maybe at welcome back nights or other parent communications. Another example of tier 1 support at the high school could be embedding College Bound into your financial aid discussions and presentations. So again, tier 1 is for all students, okay? When you're looking at tier 2, right, this is all about providing targeted supports, okay? So we are talking about some students at your school, not everyone, right? So this tier is specifically focused on your College Bound students, right? The goal here is to give these enrolled students some extra help, right? So whether that's explaining what the College Bound commitment actually means for them or guiding them through the steps that they need to take to use it. So think of it as just additional info, reminders, or one-on-one support to help make sure that they don't miss out on what's available to them. So some examples of tier 2 could include like small group workshops specifically for College Bound students on maybe college planning, financial aid literacy, or just, different pathways to different careers. Another example of tier 2 support is doing like targeted parent outreach to engage those College Bound families, right? So it's, having early and consistent messaging who may be unfamiliar with the financial aid processes. And then tier 3 is intensive supports, right? These are the few students, right? It's not all college-bound students. It's just a few of those students. And wouldn't we just love to provide tier 3 support to all of the students? But we understand caseloads. We get it, right? So the goal of tier 3 is to ensure that high need college-bound students receive that direct and personalized support to make sure that their futures and utilizing college-bound is actually a reality, right? So this could include that one-on-one advising, right? That individualized support. And we recognize that college planning cannot happen in a vacuum, okay? When a student's basic needs aren't being met, it can be hard to focus on the future. So that's why tier 3 or more intensive supports often include trauma-informed and culturally responsive approaches. So this might look like helping students and families navigate challenges such as housing instability or caregiving responsibilities, and really just connecting them with those wraparound services to reduce barriers and really just keep college on the table as a real possibility. Okay, so by embedding college bound within MTSS, we shift financial aid literacy and awareness from this isolated effort to more of an integrated system of support. Okay, and thinking about the supports in the all students, some students, and few student tiers, right? Financial aid isn't just a discussion in 11th or 12th grade, right? It's not a reactive discussion, but students can receive that consistent messaging, right? Targeted interventions and that individualized support, just like they do for academics or social emotional learning. So the next few slides, I'm going to cover some of the materials and resources that are already created and how it could be applied to each of the tiers of support. So the first set of marketing materials I want to highlight are Wassac's College Access, Wassac's College Access Initiatives program. Ooh, a mouthful. So the best part is you can order them for free. I love free things. So here are a few examples of what's available specifically for college bound. So the middle and high school posters would be great for tier 1 outreach, right? You can hang them around your school to ensure that all students are aware of the program. The brochures are a perfect thing to keep in your college and career center to support those tier 2 and tier 3 students, right? Your college bound students, just like a quick and easy way for students to access college bound info. And of course, don't forget the fun stuff, right? So there are bracelets, pens, and stickers. And that's really for student engagement, right? You could add that to mailers or welcome packets or incentive bundles specifically for those tier 2, tier 3 students. So these materials are just like a simple but effective way to keep college bound visible at your school. Next up are the college bound intro flyers. So these are available in 13 different languages. So it's an incredible resource for families whose primary language may not be English. So these flyers are especially useful for supporting our tier 2 and tier 3 students and families. So they're just helping to ensure that there's clear and accessible communication with the program. One great example of how you might use this could be during student-led conferences. So you could print the flyers in the appropriate languages and then share them directly with families during conferences. Another idea is if your student information system like Skyward includes a home language, right? You can include the appropriate flyer in a mailer or packet when you're sending them home. So this is just a simple way to meet families, right? Where they're at and to keep them informed. Okay, next we have the college bound letter and email template. This is a great tool for reaching our tier 2 and tier 3 students. So again, those college bound students. This template is fully customizable, right? So your school can tailor it with your own contact information and messaging before sending it out to enrolled college-bound students. So this is a great way to build awareness and just to help provide helpful reminders throughout the school year. Another fantastic resource I did want to highlight, thank you Gear Up for putting this together, are the Gear Up family newsletter templates. These are perfect for Tier 1 outreach, so for all students and families. So these newsletters are quarterly newsletters for grades 7 through 12. And each edition includes like timely college readiness and financial aid information. And in many cases, I've seen it in the newsletter templates, they even have a dedicated section specifically for college bound. So these newsletters are available in 12 different languages. So it's really easy to just make it engaging, right? And continue to inform your families between 7th and 12th grade. Okay, there's also a newer College Bound video series available both in English and in Spanish. There's a playlist, right, for each of the languages, and there's 5 short videos. They're around 2 minutes or less, so quick and engaging, and it's perfect for students, right, who may not have that attention span. So these videos are great really for all tiers, right, for all, few, or some. And they can be easily embedded into different classroom lessons, advisory presentations, or family engagement events. Plus, WASAC has also created supplemental learning outcomes and discussion questions to really help deepen the conversation and just make the videos more impactful. I also know that some schools use TVs or like digital bulletin boards to share flyers or announcements. So you could take like chapter 1 from the video series and embed it into your slideshow and just have it play automatically when it goes to that slide so that that video is just automatically playing. So that's just an easy way to keep College Bound visible. Okay. So I know in College Bound 101, we had already talked about this, but I just wanted to emphasize again that currently the College Bound certificates that were sent out to newly enrolled College Bound students is paused. Okay. The pause started in January of 2025, and WASAC is continuing to explore options to maximize student impact. So they are just taking a look at what future mailings, such as, you know, the mailings or emails may look like in the future. Once they know, you will all know, right? As long as you're signed up for the College Bound newsletter. So they will be sending something out about what the change will be. Okay, so in the next section on the checklist, it is about promoting or hosting College Bound sessions. So while the marketing materials we just went over are great for visibility and awareness, these next resources are more in-depth and designed to support a full presentation or event. So this is a student and family-friendly College Bound presentation. It's 19 slides. It's in English and Spanish, and even better, you can download it and make it customizable to really fit your audience or event, right? It could be used at financial aid nights, high school and beyond plan nights, advisory periods, classroom lessons, right? Whatever that you do. An example of how I personally have used this presentation is this fall, I was invited to a college and career fair. And during the fair, they have breakout sessions, so different presentations that the students and families can attend. And I was leading 2 sessions on financial aid. And one of them was specifically for college-bound students. And so what I did is I took a few of the key slides in this presentation and I just embedded it into my financial aid presentation. So I got to tailor it for college-bound students. So that's just one way that I've utilized this presentation. And then the last resource that I want to talk about is the Create Your Future with College Bound. So this was a collaborative project between College Success Foundation and WASAC to provide more in-classroom materials to help increase college-bound awareness, as well as just generally post-secondary mindsets, okay? So these materials each cover a different topic that is essential to post-secondary preparation. They cover College Bound 101, explore your career roadmap, find a good fit for you, goal setting, and discovering scholarships. And each activity includes educator notes for facilitation and a student activity worksheet. So on the next slide, I'm going to talk about the first topic. So the first topic is College Bound 101. So this would be a great fit for middle school and high school students. And in this lesson, students are just learning the basics about College Bound and exploring the different colleges, universities, technical colleges where College Bound can be used. Next is the Explore Your Career Roadmap. This is designed to help students both at middle and high school to really make meaningful connections between their personal passions, their values, right, and their interests, and really starting to connect that with their life after high school. Then we have find a good fit for you, right? We have heard students that they're choosing a college because their partner is going there, or their friend went there, or their parents went there, right? So this activity makes students reflect on what really matters to them, right? And what factors would be important in finding the right fit for them. And then the next section is the goal setting activity. So this is where students will use the SMART goal framework to identify meaningful goals, right? So if we're tying it back to the science of hope, right? Goal setting is a critical step in helping students begin to imagine and really believe in their future. And then the last section is the Discovering Scholarships activity. So this is just a great hands-on lesson for late high school students, so maybe 11th and 12th grade, to start thinking about scholarships more intentionally. And it walks them through the key factors to consider and helps them begin really just identifying scholarships that align with their interests, backgrounds, and goals. Okay, phew, I just talked a lot. So before we do another share out, I just wanted to go over just a few other best practices when you're thinking about promoting College Bound. Okay, so the first being, of course, that we want to celebrate students and all of their hard work, right? But when you're recognizing students at award or scholarship nights, it's recommended to avoid listing College Bound as a scholarship, right? We need to change our thinking. Instead, we want to think of it as a financial aid grant. So when you're potentially highlighting it publicly, you could be unintentionally sharing a student's income status. Okay, so just be mindful, right? When you are celebrating those students. Of course, we want to celebrate them, but just be mindful if you are listing College Bound as a scholarship. Okay. Another practice is potentially if you're leading classroom lessons about College Bound with all students. Amazing that you're doing that. I would recommend consider sending a follow-up email before or after your session to the students. And you could just do like a blind CC and send it to the students, right? That way, when you're sending an email saying, hey, congratulations, you're a College Bound student, right? Students get to check on their own time, right, privately, whether they're a College Bound student or not. And that, right, they can do it privately, and then they can have a follow-up discussion with you without being singled out in class. So that's just another great practice. And then lastly is that, again, we have moved away from using the pledge verbiage, right? We've moved away from like re-pledge events, but that doesn't mean that you can't host College Bound family nights or like specific College Bound presentations during your college and career planning events. So just something to consider. Okay, Raul, I'm done talking. I want to hear from all of you. So what are some ways that you promote College Bound at your school or district? could be like, I do this at this event, or I send out an email at this time throughout the school year. We would love to hear from you in the chat. What are some different ways that you are promoting College Bound at your school or district? So I'll give a minute in the chat. In family sessions, yes, absolutely. Yeah, during back to school night and conference week. A College Bound breakout room. Yes. So invite your CBRO. We love talking about College Bound. I know that tonight I'll be at Edmonds Woodway High School for a college and career fair. And I just have like these general signs up that say, ask me about financial aid, ask me about College Bound, right? We love talking about it. In the college and career newsletter, at district events, so at financial aid events, absolutely. One-on-one meetings with every College Bound student and send them a follow-up email to families. I love it. Yeah, individual meetings with students, junior, senior night, senior assembly, posters in high schools. I love it. I love seeing it. Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I am now going to hand it over to Raul.
Thank you, Bree. Just want to also highlight that while some of us may be located in specific spots, like I may be in Spokane, just last Friday, I drove over to Okanagan Middle School and presented on College Bound. I love to drive around Eastern Washington. Beautiful drive, beautiful places to get to see. And so, don't ever be discouraged that you might be a little bit far away from us. We'd be happy to start planning and figure out how we can get to your schools, your middle schools, your high schools, to present about College Bound. Especially, we know parents are always the ones that are more proactive than the students, especially in middle school, early high school. So getting that information to them is always going to be crucial and important. With that, the next part I want to talk to you all is about recruiting a College Bound team. It should not be something that you're doing by yourself, especially in your school, in your school district. Many hands make light work. That is definitely a phrase that really fits in well with the College Bound program. And with that, firstly, you want to create a College Bound team at your site. Start thinking about who are the people that can help you out to promote the College Bound program, to talk about post-secondary opportunities. So establishing a team at your school to understand and support the College Bound program can be very important. Meet periodically to classify roles, plan actions, and assess support needs. That could be very important to collaborate together to determine what's going to be the best options to work with your students. Then, what's it called? Expand portal access to include the people you've recruited. You can have more than one person at your school district, that can access the College Bound list. This will also make it safer for keeping track of those College Bound lists. You're not emailing them to each other. You're not losing track of that. It keeps their importance. They keep the important information secure and safe and accessible to those that are part of your College Bound team. So this could be administration, this could be teachers, family engagement coordinators, social workers, community-based organizations, the advisors, the counselors, and the college and career personnel too. So keep in mind that you don't have to do this by yourself. You want to create a College Bound team, maybe not just within your schools, within your middle schools or high schools. Definitely recruit within community-based organizations. Collaborate together. I know a lot of different school districts bring all the middle school counselors together in the same school district to discuss things related to all things for middle school. So maybe that might be a time to also incorporate College Bound conversation. Also, connect with your College Bound regional officer. We are a resource here that is available to you. We're here to guide and support you with anything you may have related to the College Bound program. We don't mind getting those emails. We don't mind getting those phone calls. We love being able to support you and your students traveling to your schools whenever possible. So we really encourage you to connect with us. You've already heard from Bree. She covers the peninsula and the Northwest region of Washington State. So we really encourage you to reach out to Bree to talk about how Bree can best help support you in your area. We've got Melissa, who's available as well, covering the King County area. Feel free to reach out to her to ask about how to best support you. We've got Amber, who covers the South Central and Southeastern Washington region, as well as myself, who covers North Central and Northeastern Washington. So the Spokane area, Wenatchee, Moses Lake, all those areas, and anywhere nearby, here to support you for that. We've got Kennedy as well, who, while some of you have already been hearing that Kennedy will be leaving sometime next month, we will still be having a College Bound regional officer for that region soon. We do have coverage and support with that within the staff of College Success Foundation. So please don't hesitate to reach out for any support and guidance. We will work with you on getting support with in terms of wherever you are in the state of Washington. We want to make sure your students are supported, their families are, and that you are up to date and being provided support wherever you can, especially because we know your roles could involve 5 or 10 or 20 different jobs that you're having so many different hats to wear. We want to help out with that college bound and financial aid piece whenever possible, make your jobs a little bit easier, help refuel as well. So that way you're not burning out and you have the focus you can provide to your students where needed most. Oh, I'm already covered part of this as well. We have individualized and collaborative support from your CBRO, college bound awareness, financial aid completion, student and family events. We'd love to get in front of your students, in front of your parents, talk about anything related to the college bound or financial aid. Trainings for practitioners. Sometimes we have regional trainings we'll provide you. Statewide trainings will provide you, especially when it comes to things like the free application for federal student aid or the Washington application for state financial aid. We know some of those things can be tedious even for the students and families completing it, but we want to provide that guidance and support. And like we mentioned, support and resources too. Best practice is to sign up for your CBRO's monthly newsletters. Sometimes some of us send it on a monthly basis, sometimes every few months. I personally don't want to bombard your email account with too many emails, but I do want to provide you with up-to-date information, key details you should know about what's going on in the financial aid world, in the college-bound world. And so if you click on the link that's within this slide, and we will also provide that link too, our website has access to all the newsletters that you can sign up for based on your region. I personally like to also encourage opportunities for you to sign up for college bound nights or anything related to that too. And my CBRO counterparts are also really excited to be able to go and support you in any way possible. Also, it's important to make sure you prepare the students to be college bound. That is really important, so that way students are aware of everything they should be doing, anything that they should know. And so with that, we talked briefly about the Create Your Future earlier. Bree was able to cover that. But just know that there are student materials there, educator materials, so much information that is important here for preparing students to be college bound. So that's a little bit that we touched on already, but making sure you know this is a great resource to prepare them. Another resource is the College and Career Knowledge booklets. These are available to order for free from WASAC. So many different things that the Washington Student Achievement Council provides to be able to help you out and your students. It covers college preparation, financial aid, and enrollment. This is available in multiple languages. It's in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Ukrainian, so many different languages. And it's available to order whether it's in hard copies in English and Spanish, as well as digital versions you can access instantly, email to students and parents to be able to access, go over through the different things. With that, with the College Knowledge booklet, I do want to take a moment highlight a couple of different key chapters from the college knowledge booklet. First up is going to be chapter 3, paying for college. This chapter is a great one-stop shop for students to understand the basics on how to pay for college. We know that can be a little bit nerve-wracking. We know that can be a little bit of an unknown for a lot of students who maybe haven't even started exploring, especially if their parents, this is going to be their first students going to college. Parents maybe themselves never went to college. So it's going to be a way for it to cover the different ways students can fund their education, like completing the FAFSA or the WASFA that we mentioned, scholarships they apply to, accessing student loans, how to be responsible with them, and how to read and understand financial aid award letters. We know different colleges and universities provide different methods of how to provide financial aid offer letters, but it's really a great way to understand how to navigate it. What are going to be the gift aid? What's going to be the loans? What has to be paid back? What doesn't have to be paid back? It's a super helpful resource, especially for students and families who are just starting to navigate their financial aid process. Next, we have chapter 4, which is going to focus specifically on Washington State aid. This chapter dives into all the amazing state level resources available to students, including the Washington College Grant, College Bound Commitment, Passport to Careers, State Work Study, and the Washington State Opportunity Scholarships. It's a fantastic resource for students to understand how College Bound fits into the bigger picture of state financial aid, how it complements other opportunities for funding their education right here in the state of Washington. To supplement the college and career knowledge booklet, there's supplemental student lessons that are 20 to 30 minutes long that you can use with your students. Perfect for advisory or even classroom lessons. I want to highlight that there are 3 lessons specifically to College Bound right here, especially within those College Bound, All About It, CBS, The Pledge for 9th and 10th grades, 11th grade lessons to cover how to access it, and then 12th grade lessons and timeline about continuing on how to access it. Really just diving in, reminding students on what that commitment is, how they can get best supported for it, and what they need to do to access it. Financial aid, how to access the College Bound. Utilizing the Access to College Bound handout, this is available in many different languages. So with that, we really encourage you to provide this information to students in the financial aid section of the checklist. The first resource we want to highlight is how to access College Bound. This would be a great resource for juniors, seniors, and parents when they're starting to plan their financial aid journey. The next part within financial aid is understanding the awarding of College Bound. College Bound is awarded after the Washington College Grant. So when the College Bound commitment, it works in combination with both those funds. College Bound is not a full ride scholarship, and the amount will vary depending on the tuition rates and students qualifying. So it all depends on where they're going to be going to school, what the cost of tuition is going to be, whether it's a public or private institution. But just know that this can be used at any of the over 65 different institutions, public or private, in the state of Washington. Students can receive College Bound funds for up to 6 years. It's no longer, you got to use it for 4 years within 5 years after graduating high school. Students have access to it as long as they're enrolled within at least one term of college, receive 1 college credit within 1 year after graduating high school. And they have access to it for 18 quarters or 12 semesters, up to 6 years, or until they complete a bachelor's degree, whichever comes first. So if a student needs a little bit more time than 4 years to complete their degree, the College Bound commitment has been adapted to that, because we know not everyone's going to be able to complete it in 4 years. Sometimes some students might take a little bit longer. Life may happen. And so this really adapts to a variety of different circumstances students may experience. With SB 6053's enhanced data sharing, OtterBot from WASAC is a free texting service for financial aid support. It has recently reached more high school students and their parents and guardians. Students began receiving introductory messages, and your school may start hearing questions from families about, hey, why am I getting messages from OtterBot? Is this safe? Should I be relying on this texting service? Please reassure students that and families that OtterBot is legitimate, safe, and a free resource. It is fully managed by Washington Student Achievement Council, and we really encourage students and families to use it. There are two separate bots that they should keep in mind, though. One is for students that they can sign up for to get information as students, and there's one for parents so they can get information as the parent or guardian supporting the students. And both do provide timely support around financial aid, planning, and college in general. So feel free to encourage them to utilize that resource. There's always a way to help them and support them through that process through texting, especially students nowadays who may focus more on the texting opportunities to want to get support and get questions answered rather than talking on the phone, or maybe even stopping by and visiting the counseling center. We know some students might be hesitant on that, and we want to provide students access to a variety of different outlets for them to get support. With that, there are promotional materials available through the college access initiatives, through the order form if you'd like to help spread the word. There are two different OtterBots, like we mentioned, to be aware of. So once again, whether it's for students or for guardians. Next, we definitely want to cover additional resources. You've heard a lot of the organizations and terms during this meeting, and maybe wondering how they all fit together. If you attended some previous, any of the previous webinars of the series, you may have heard about this already, where the CVROs are employed by the College Success Foundation, which is a nonprofit that helps students and families navigate their post-secondary opportunities. We help underserved and low-income students. In order to meet this goal, we help students in different grade levels in different departments. And then one of them being WACN, or the Washington College Access Network. We are contracted with OSPI to increase the college-bound awareness in the state of Washington. So know that we are here to support you with everything related with college-bound, connect you to the right people. Thankfully, we also have a great partner in the Washington Student Achievement Council to meet our goals. WASAC is the state agency that supports the college access and administers the Washington State aid programs such as the College Bound. So that's how all these different organizations and different labels work, essentially, with supporting you and your students and families. We really encourage you also to partner with WASAC. They are here, they are passionate about the work they do. They want to support you in any way possible too. WASAC has a wealth of information on their websites. There's so much that you can utilize and help to connect with your students. You can order free promo materials from College Bound and the 12th year campaign. You can find student flyers in different languages, like we shared earlier, even some presentations for student-facing audiences. They have done the majority of the work for you, so you don't have to put together for something from scratch. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You can just continue to borrow the wheel from us and be able to adapt it to your needs. I also recommend attending WASAC Wednesdays if you're able to. You will get any important information, updates on things that affect financial aid, state programs. The majority of the time, it's a free Q&A time. Even if you don't have a question and want to set it up and have that available as you do other work or things from that, you might be able to hear something like, oh, I never thought of that. That might be an amazing thing to be able to adapt to my work. So it's always great to, if you have time, jump into those WhatsApp Wednesdays. Always helpful. And I don't know anybody that would regret ever jumping into those sessions. If anything, they really appreciate being able to do that. We've talked so much about the wonderful team known as WASAC. The College Access Initiative team is mainly responsible for College Bound and who will be able to, you will be conversing with if you reach out to the general College Bound email, especially if you're requesting portal access, anything related to that. I would like to take a moment for everyone on the WASAC team to be able to introduce themselves. I'm going to go ahead and start off with Pablo, if you would like to unmute and introduce yourself.
Thanks, Raul. Good morning, everyone. I'm Pablo Rodriguez here, Program Associate with WASAC. I help support our OtterBot and College Bound teams, and I am located in the Tri-Cities. Thank you.
Good morning, all. My name is Sean Moran. I am the data analyst for College Access Initiatives, and I am located in Olympia.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Pham, and I'm the Program Associate for College Bound Outreach, and I'm located in Federal Way. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rochelle Wise, and I'm the program specialist with College Access Initiatives. I'm the one you may hear from with emails and phones. I pretty much monitor those. I'm the first point of contact. So it's nice to see you all here today.
Thank you, WASAC team. And like I mentioned, they're here to support you in any way related to the College Bound program, Washington State aid programs. They are really amazing to work with. And I can't even recall a dull moment whenever we meet for different things, partnering like with this webinar. And so I really appreciated getting to know them and work with them. They really have the passion to help you all out. And with that, just as a reminder, we have a post-training survey. Once again, that feedback is going to be very crucial for us. We want to make sure that we continue to improve your experiences with the webinars, especially as we first introduce the series of 3 different webinars this year, wanting to learn more feedback about what works for you, what hasn't worked for you, and what we can improve upon. So please take 5 minutes to complete the survey, evaluate today's training. If for any reason you want to say, hey, I don't want to hear from Raul ever again, we'll take that feedback to mind, and maybe you might not see me again, or we might not listen and I still might join in. Who knows? But with that, feel free to enter your email in the survey if you want to be entered into a raffle to win a $10 gift card. Like we mentioned, your responses are going to stay anonymous. We are not going to hold a grudge to anybody that provides negative feedback. We need that negative feedback in addition to the positive feedback. And then in a month, please also complete your short follow-up survey, just so that way we can learn a little bit more about how have you adapted this information? How have you used it in your work? Have you had the opportunity to do so? And that way we can continue to figure out more ways to support you too. With that, we have come to the close of our webinar. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. For those of you that maybe had to leave a little bit earlier and are watching this in a recording, we just want to say thank you very much for taking the time to come back too. Like we mentioned, this is being provided later on. You're getting the slide deck. Hopefully you also got the checklist. If you need that again, feel free to email us and we will provide you that support. But we also wanted to open it up. Is there any additional questions you may have? There might be some questions we may be able to answer live currently, so feel free to just ask those. Also, as a fun information to share, for those of you wondering how long does it take to drive from Spokane to Olmec, it is about 3 hours. So just know that with those 3-hour drive, it may seem like a lot for some. For me, it's a nice calm way to drive, listen to some podcast or some music, and then be able to present. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to drive the 3 hours. I'll be honest. Sometimes it feels like it might be a lot, but to be completely transparent, once I present to the students and the students engage, or I talk to different family members, it feels so much worth it. And the drive back just feels so much faster. So I will just say that some of us love to travel. Some of us are willing to dedicate the time to travel, especially because we know the work you do is so important.
Yeah, absolutely, Raul. I like to say that now I just live on the ferries, right? Just going
Exactly.
back to the Northwest Coastal region and then back to the peninsula. And what a beautiful commute I have, right? We're so lucky to live in Washington. I see one question in the chat, in the chat. Is this session recorded? Yes, it is. It will be posted on our YouTube. We'll have a playlist. So this is the third and final webinar of our series. So there will be a playlist of all 3 webinars. So yes, we will be sending it out along with the checklist and along with the presentation.
Yes, if you can help us go viral along your colleagues, we want to get those views up and want to make sure we reach as many people as possible too. We know that,
Don't
we're
forget
not
to subscribe.
exactly right. Although I don't know how long ago it's been that I've subscribed to a YouTube channel, but I know all the kids are doing that nowadays. So
Yeah, that is it. What
that
do
didn't
the
make me sound old
influencers
either,
say?
right?
Yeah, they say like,
Probably.
don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like.
Mhm.
Hit that like button.
Yep. Check out my merchandise website or something.
Yeah.
And at least in this case, our merchandise is free for college.
Yeah,
So
get the free swag.
take advantage of that.
Yep.
Why don't we wait
I
maybe
don't
2 or more minutes, and then if not, we'll stop the recording and end the webinar if there's no questions.
Sounds good.
I saw
How's the
some
weather
good
over there for you?
questions. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, how's the weather over there for you, Bree?
Good. It's beautiful. I'm actually in Seattle right now. I was at a conference yesterday, but man, oh, the sun makes it hard to be inside.
Yep. We're about
Gorgeous.
to hit 70 degrees today, so I'm
Oh.
looking forward to that.
Oh, that's like real summertime over here on the west side.
But yeah, like you mentioned, there were some great questions. So hopefully, if we don't answer your questions today, or if you remember some questions you want to ask, feel free to email us.
All right, so it does not look like there's any more questions in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and end the recording and end this webinar. But like Raul said, if you had any questions, feel free to email us and we're happy to respond.
Sounds good. Thanks all.
Thank you.